Welcome, everyone. My name is Ayman Khattab. I'm a product marketing manager here at Zapier, and I'll be your host for today. We're excited to have you join us for today's webinar on automating marketing compliance, leveraging Zapier and OpenAI. Before we dive in, let's do a couple of housekeeping items. Yes, this webinar is being recorded, and you can access the recording anytime after we close. You can just use the same link used to access the webinar today. And we're also going to send a follow-up email with a link to the recording once the webinar has ended. We'll also, by the way, include a template of the workflow we're going to be talking about today in this follow-up. We will have time for live Q&A at the end, but please don't hesitate to put your questions in the questions tab throughout the presentation. My colleague, Alicia Smith, is with us today. She'll be monitoring and answering your questions in the chat as they pop up. We will prioritize questions with the most upvotes. If for any reason you run into technical difficulties during the webinar, clicking the refresh button on your browser will resolve most issues. By the way, Google Chrome is the recommended browser. And most importantly, there are no silly questions here. We are all looking to grow, learn, and automate our challenges away. All right, today we have a jam-packed agenda for you. First, we will talk about why automating marketing compliance is important. You all are here, so I'm assuming you all realize why it's important, but just to reinforce and reiterate that point. Next, our esteemed guest, who will be meeting shortly, will provide an overview of how he automated marketing compliance at his company, along with a recorded demo of how his workflow actually works. We'll then round off with some takeaways and leave plenty of time for Q&A, as I'm sure you all will have questions about how Jason set this up. Speaking of Jason, I think now is a good time for introductions. As I mentioned, I'm Ayman, and I'm joined today by Jason Hager. Jason, did you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Ayman. Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Hager. I am the digital marketing manager at Benchmark Mortgage, where I do web development. I manage our social media content. I do marketing operations, content and strategy, analytics and reporting, things like that. I've been in marketing for over a decade now, and in a past life, I was a specialty coffee consultant. I also do freelance marketing and web development, and I'm always looking to build systems and create workflows to make life easier, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. I will say that, specialty coffee consultant, marketing compliance, you don't hear those two in the same sentence very often. But all good. Fantastic. Thank you, Jason. Let's get into it. We're here to talk about automating marketing compliance, but why is this important? To give you a sense of the scope of the problem, according to PerformLine, an omni-channel marketing compliance platform and one of the tools involved in Jason's workflow, in Q2 of 2024 alone, federal and state regulators doled out $71 million in monetary fines due to non-compliance. Obviously, there are sizable consequences at stake here. And so I'm going to hand it over to Jason to talk about some other interesting stats pertaining to marketing compliance, and then he'll walk through the automation he created to build a robust and seamless marketing compliance workflow. Jason, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Ayman. Turns out that most surveyed organizations who were surveyed by PerformLine report that they have a mostly manual compliance process. A lot of manual processes mean keeping track of a lot of paperwork, a lot of approval documents. It's a lot of manual things. And anytime you have too much manual work, you end up with more inefficiencies and errors. In the mortgage marketing space, a lack of time getting things out and approved in time can be missed sales opportunities. So it's a huge thing for the bottom line. And the next thing about that is confidence. A lot of organizations report low confidence in their compliance programs, probably in part because of the lack of efficiency in place, right? Most teams spend a lot of time working on marketing compliance when they have to, right? It's a very tedious process. There's a lot of back and forth communication between the actual compliance party and the person creating the piece. It's extremely time consuming. I wanted to set a way to kind of fix that and make it a lot easier so there's less time spent, less time required to get it approved, and less work on our teams.
All right.
The workflow involved, if you want to go to the next slide, thank you. This is a workflow that has a lot of apps involved. There was no one quick and easy way. This really started with Monday. We are keeping track of a lot of things in Monday. We use Jotform to retrieve the request. We use Zapier. We use Monday.com. We use PerformLine, Dropbox, Google Docs, and AI by Zapier powered by OpenAI. Before, it was a very manual process. There's a lot of back and forth. It was a back and forth nightmare in Zendesk, as the quote that you see on the screen shows, right? But since implementing the automation, 92% of all compliance processes have been automated. It takes the human component out of it completely on approval process. It's a 90% reduction in work for those processes that still require some manual intervention. It's been a massive time saver for our team. So let's go now to the recorded demo that I recorded for you before. We can kind of walk you through how this flow actually works.
Hey, I'm Jason from Benchmark Mortgage. If you've been managing marketing compliance manually, you know how time-intensive and messy it can get. But I've found a way to simplify 92% of that process, saving hours while also ensuring full compliance. It's the challenge many organizations face today. Marketing compliance often requires what feels like endless back and forth communication via email in platforms like Zendesk. Files can get mixed up, approvals are often delayed, resulting in missed opportunities. Sound familiar? Before this automation, our team spent hours addressing compliance checks manually. But now with automation, we've streamlined that entire workflow so that 10% of cases or less require any human intervention, and with a fraction of the time. The rest, AI takes care of it. We've achieved automating most of our marketing compliance submissions to date by combining Jotform, Zapier, Monday.com, PerformLine, Dropbox, and Google Docs. This automated workflow uses AI to handle submissions efficiently, flag issues where necessary, and notify the right teams instantly. Here's how the magic happens. First, we start with a Jotform. This is the view that they see whenever they actually go to the form to fill it out. On the back side, we have this. This shows all the questions that we ask so that we can figure out which rule sets we should send to PerformLine for compliance review for. Not every state has the same rules. Not every marketing piece needs the same kind of treatment. So we ask a series of questions to help define which rule set we should use. Once the form is submitted, we extract the details of that submission using Zapier and their integration with Jotform. We then format the text to make sure it is clean. We select the correct output in case they have custom inputs for certain fields, right? We then have a loop that counts how many different items were uploaded whenever they submitted the submission. For example, one flyer will be one file. A social media campaign could be 3 or more files. Each of these files needs to be submitted to PerformLine separately, which means it needs its own item in Monday. So I use a loop to count how many files there are. I then get the file name and extension, right? And then I split the paths. The reason I do this, if there's multiple files, we have to treat it differently. So I'll add a 1, 2, or 3 after the name of the item as submitted in the form on Monday so that we can keep track of each one individually. Split paths make this possible. Once it's gone into Monday, it looks like this. The item name is taken here. We have the state, the file is uploaded, we have the item type, and lots of other data that we need in order to keep our rules in check with regulatory requirements. It ends up here as an incoming response first. Then it's sent it to PerformLine automatically via webhook to their Zapier integration. Their system then scores it, reviews it, compares it to state regulatory requirements, and sends back a report. This is the update that it sends back to Monday.com via their Zapier integration. This is a view of the update that PerformLine sends back. You can see there's not a whole lot of information. There's a score, it's numerical, it shows 80, and there's a link to compliance alert. This is a PDF that shows a full report of the piece that was scored, which parts of it were scored, which rule violations were found in more detail. This is the kind of information we really want to look at. However, it doesn't make it easy because it's not visible in the update itself. We have to download the PDF. That's where Zapier comes in. This is a view of the PDF that PerformLine links to. So you can see it has a score rating, it has rule violations and what the terms are. These are things that we look for in the HTML. We use Zapier webhooks to send the update from PerformLine back to Zapier in a new workflow. We catch the hook, we filter it to make sure that it is actually a PerformLine scoring result. We use AI to extract the PDF URL from the update text. We then upload the file to Dropbox using that URL. We then upload the same file to Google Docs. Why both places? We use Dropbox to store it for compliance purposes. We use Google Docs for a different reason entirely. After we upload it to Google Docs, we find the document in Google Docs, and we use the HTML provided by Google Docs on this document to use Files by Zapier to extract the text from the file. We then analyze and return what the scoring was, both the numerical score and the rule violations that were found. AI summarizes the rule violations and gives specific instructions for the submitter to change the piece in order to make it compliant. And then we use paths. The paths are used to enact logic on it. So if it's a passing score, we automatically send it to Monday and update it as approved. When approved, they automatically get an email saying it's been approved, what the expiration date is, including a link to resubmit for later purposes. If it's not a passing score, we send it to the updated items on Monday.com. We send the score, but we also send the rule violation AI summary to a separate column. Our agent can then go in and manually review the piece. Is it a false positive on PerformLine's part? Well, they can decide, they can rescore it, and they can approve it manually if so. If the ruling from PerformLine stands and the rule violations are accurate, they can mark it as denied, which sends an email of denied to the submitter. It includes the specific instructions that were generated by AI on how to make changes to make it compliant. All this happens with just a click of a button. It saves countless hours. This solution has been a game changer for our compliance operations. It's not limited to our team, though. You can implement a similar workflow. Just use the right tools, save countless hours, and ensure that your team meets compliance standards seamlessly. I love building systems, even though this was a more complicated build. It required 2 different Zapier workflows and several different systems to make it work. But it does work, and it saves countless hours.
All right, thanks for that demo, pre-recorded, Jason. I really love how how the workflow you set up orchestrated the different elements of your tech stack, leveraging Zapier and OpenAI. 3 quick takeaways from me. By automating repetitive processes, we eliminate those frustrating bottlenecks that traditionally slow down operations and create unnecessary friction points. And this is especially important for compliance workflows, as they typically involve input from multiple stakeholders. If that's not managed properly, it can become a very time-consuming back and forth. Secondly, good things happen when you use automation and AI to integrate tools across your tech stack. This isn't just about connecting software. It's about creating seamless experiences that flow naturally from beginning to end. And again, as I alluded to earlier, compliance often involves multiple stakeholders, and eliminating those jarring transitions between different tools and processes is key to ensuring a smooth, efficient, and accurate workflow. And finally, AI isn't just a buzzword. By combining Zapier and OpenAI's capabilities, you were able to identify compliance issues. Not only were you able to do that, but also proactively provide guidance on how to remedy them based on industry standards and your company's own best practices. And the results speak for themselves: reduced approval time, streamlined operations, and significantly improved compliance outcomes. All right. Before we get into Q&As, I wanted to let you all know about our upcoming webinar. everybody is talking about MCPs these days, which stands for Model Context Protocol. Come join us on May 7th to learn more about Zapier's MCP and how you can leverage it to extend the capabilities of the AI tools you're using. Sign up via the QR code. Just take a picture of it with your phone. And that should hopefully reveal sort of the link behind the QR code, and you can register for the webinar. All right, cool. Let us dive into Q&A. We're excited to hear your questions. I already see some great questions teed up and discuss how Jason's workflow might apply to your own specific situations. Jason, I did want to kick us off with a couple of questions of my own. Firstly, what was the biggest challenge you faced when implementing this automation workflow? And how did you overcome the technical hurdles of connecting multiple platforms like Jotform, Monday.com, and PerformLine?
That's a great question, Eamon. The biggest challenge I faced was, how do I get this all to work in a single interface, which was really tricky. Getting it to work in the first place was a big win in the first place. Then removing the manual aspect of automatic approvals was the really hard part. And then what to do with the information if it wasn't going to be approved automatically. When they send a response back, as I showed in the webinar demo, they link to a PDF. Getting that PDF to be scored and summarized by AI was the biggest challenge. So that's where Google Docs comes in. This wasn't all done at one time. This was an iterative process of what's the next challenge? How do we overcome the next thing? Step by step. It was not a one big build all at once type of situation, as these rarely are.
Got it. And actually, on that point of kind of like connecting your different tools, I do see some questions here around Monday.com. And there is a question about why would you use Zapier when you can automate with Monday, or Monday has some automation capabilities?
That's a good question, because Zapier makes it easier to manage the connection with multiple different applications in a single workflow. It's a lot easier than trying to manage it through Monday.com. I do use Monday automations for other workflows within the system, but connecting the different apps, definitely Zapier is the way to go. I can manage all the connections through one platform. It makes things a lot easier.
Perfect, thank you. I see another question here, and that is, any chance you can either go over the prompts that you used in the AI by Zapier step, either show them on screen or just describe them? I think people are interested in kind of seeing the details. Prompting is a big part of like AI and how one leverages AI. Can you go into some details there?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to recite it specifically because I think what the prompt should be is going to be highly dependent on your tech stack and what your process looks like. What I did do is prompt the AI to take the rule violations that were provided in the PDF, summarize them, give actionable steps for the submitter of the piece to take in order to make it compliant. I also ask it to output the score that's given by PerformLine in the document as well. And then I take those outputs and I add those to the Monday columns.
Got it. Okay, perfect. So let me, I'm done answering. There was another question that is related to this. The question pertained to, it was about having sort of, and I'm asking it here because it's kind of related. It was about, do you have any form of human in the loop, in the sense that checking the output of the AI just to make sure that it's, generating the results needed and accurate recommendations?
Yes, we do actually. So an agent on our team can go in and review anything on Monday. The output is given that's there. It's one click away to actually look at the rules that were there, and they can see the column and what it gives us the feedback. We've gone through iterations on this to make sure that we're happy with it before we've launched it live. So it wasn't a quick build and it's done. It has been very iterative.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Jason. I see a question here about the cost of running this flow. How long did it take you to plan, build, and test?
The cost, I would say, is probably expensive because we're using a plan on Monday.com, obviously that's paid. We're using Pro Zapier. We're paying for PerformLine. We're paying for Dropbox. We've got a lot of things that we were already using, though. So I would say that building this out didn't really cost a lot of extra because these were tools we were already using. This just made them all connected. I can't give you specific cost because we didn't set this up just for this particular workflow, right? In terms of time that it took to build, this really came about when PerformLine mentioned that they had a Monday integration, when they found out we're using Monday, and the whole thing kind of spun off from there. It's like, how do we automate this? Part of the reason we did this was because they were looking at how do we extract reports when we get audited by a particular state? How do we extract which things to look at for that particular state audit? They didn't have it. When they said they had the integration with Monday, it was like, all right, we can do this on our own, right? So we can track everything in Monday, collect which states it's supposed to be for. We can filter it all by view in Monday.com, which made organizing things so much easier. So it would take probably a week or more to collect things together to report to the auditor. Now we can get it set up in 3 clicks. That was really the crux of where this whole thing started. Automating approval was the next win. One of our sales team said that they really wanted loan officers and branches to be able to approve things themselves. So I set out to make it automated approvals, which is based on the scoring system and the rules in PerformLine, using the AI to extract the score and extract the instructions in case it doesn't meet guidelines to then send automatically. So the automation, like I said, was iterative. It was not all in one, scoped as it was now.
Perfect. Great. Thank you, Jason. Let's see what else we have here. So one question that I wanted to follow up on, for organizations that are just beginning to automate their compliance processes, which piece of this workflow would you recommend implementing first to get the most immediate impact? Or sort of asked differently, how would you recommend that they get started?
To get started, I would probably say start with organizing all of your data that you have to work around, right? So if you have a list of different data, we have NMLS records that we have to kind of use. We have state violation rules that we have to keep track of, getting these organized and then figuring out how to make them work together through the systems that you already use first. I would advise not signing up for new things if you're not familiar with them already. We were already using a lot of the tech stack that we have in place in order to make this work. Getting creative on solutions, finding other reasons that you want to, build an automation. For example, the automatic approval that we have in place was really based on a desire from the sales team to have this automated in the first place. This wasn't originated on our team necessarily. So look for opportunities.
Perfect. Here's a question. Let's give it a try. So the question is, would this be able to manage marketing, social videos, and posts? So I think the nature of the question is, let's say you are promoting something via a marketing social video. Can you somehow, set up the automation to review that for compliance purposes?
This is something that I've been actually working on. It's a unique challenge for multiple reasons. Transcribing the video and analyzing the text is easy enough. That's doable. Something that we have to do in the mortgage space is we have to visually show the NMLS number, the actual LLC, the name of the LLC, standard disclaimers, things like that. This is going to take place in the video. It is not transcribed because it's not an audio unless you account for that whenever you're recording, which is fine. We're working on ways to pull that last screen out to automatically analyze it in addition to the transcription as well. So it's possible for sure, but it's not something that we have in place as of yet.
Perfect. Thanks. And I think the next question is somewhat similar. And again, I think it's going to be specific to the context of the questioner. But Emily asks, I'm having trouble with extracting files that are uploaded to a specific project within a software I've integrated with Zapier. How do you use filters to extract the right information and grab the files in the Zap you made? Any thoughts on that, Jason? Or maybe specifically to how you address that problem?
Yes, I think how I address that problem is probably the most salient bit. So what I did is I took the PDF and I uploaded it to Google Drive in Zapier. Now, that gives certain things that we can do differently that I can't do otherwise. The PDF then gets saved in Google Docs. I can then extract the HTML using Zapier. The HTML gets extracted and sent to files by Zapier, which is then converted into things that we can then use AI to enact on. Then it comes down to how good your prompt is, right? So if you're having a hard time getting the right information out of it, it could be that your prompt needs a little bit of work. This is not a quick build. This is an iterative process. Keep trying.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, by the way, on the prompt, I will say that AI by Zapier does have like a prompt assistant to help sort of refine that prompt to get what you need from AI. But good call out, Jason. Let's go to the next question. So there's a question here from Daniel saying, with Zapier, can we integrate it for the web? I'm taking a look at the question. I think that the question pertains to try to make sense. I looked at this question initially, it made sense, but I think the idea is, so I'm going to read the entire question. Maybe Jason, you can help me work through this. So with Zapier, can we integrate it with the web? For example, creating a choice-based game with AI. User will choose the path and AI would generate the answer and continue the story. It's like a D&D game. I can take a stab here, Daniel. So, we do have some capability with our agents product to kind of to kind of like crawl like actual URLs and then kind of return the information that you need. You can also use webhooks to extract information from specific URLs. For example, if you need to extract the text of an entire article, or you need to extract the URL itself, and then you can pass on that metadata to AI to then act on that. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but there is some ability to kind of work with URLs. Jason, I don't know, did you want to add anything to that?
Paths are a great use case for this too, I think. So if you can have a different path with different steps, depending on what the answers are, that's kind of probably where you want to look for.
Perfect. Thanks. Okay. So the next question that we have was summarizing your data points into a PDF ready for AI summary, a cost-related decision, i.e., is it more cost-effective to bundle everything for AI rather than feeding individual data points?
This came down to what we already had in place. So our compliance team had already signed up with PerformLine in the first place. PerformLine was already sending back a single PDF. So we're not generating the PDF, PerformLine is. We are reading the points off of the PDF. The rules themselves are managed by PerformLine, and their OCR system extracts the text off of the piece and then checks against the rules to see if it makes sense and complies with the guidelines. So it's not like we're trying to feed different data points. We don't even have the option necessarily. It was already kind of centralized in the first place. We're just trying to extract the data from that centralized PDF to make it easy enough to give instructions for remediation.
Perfect. Thanks. Thank you, Jason. Love these questions, by the way. Everybody keep them coming. Another question for you, Jason. This is from me. What will you be automating next? What opportunities do you see within your team or your org?
Onboarding. We are definitely working on automating a lot of onboarding processes, specifically licensing notifications. Whenever we have somebody starting here at the company, we have to go through licensing. Once their license is approved, then we can actually do everything required for onboarding. There's a big disconnect. Right now, it's just an email notification that goes to Zendesk. I'm working on automating that to update our board in Monday.com and then notify everyone individually so that we can accomplish everything we need to accomplish much more easily.
Exciting. I think that's what's cool about setting up these workflows is once you set up one workflow, you start identifying opportunities or similar opportunities to kind of implement a workflow in another area that's adjacent to the work that you've set up. There is a question here from Neil. In your setup, can you use internal policies so can you feed internal policies to PerformLine's algorithm so that it could be factored in when so basically AI will the PerformLine algorithm will take into account general sort of state regulations, but also your own internal policies.
It will, yes. Our legal team actually manages the PerformLine rules, so they can go in and define rule sets. We can use our own internal rules, not just state violations, and we can prioritize them or down prioritize them according to what we want to see in the compliance output.
Perfect. And everyone, bear with me. These questions are changing in real time based on upvotes, hence why you're seeing me like pause. And now I see another question that's actually been selected, so we can talk about that too. So Jason, what is the broader altitude and approach to AI use at your company? And this is a great question. I think everybody's trying to figure out, how do we scale the usage of AI? Are all employees actively using AI, or is it siloed? Is it top down? Is it centralized?
Well, we are a nationwide mortgage company with almost 100 branches nationwide. I can't speak to everyone, but I do know that many of us are using AI. A lot of this is good for planning, for data extraction, for content creation. It's not just siloed. We use Jasper as a writing tool as well for generating content ideas and managing things like that too. The attitude is, it goes through our compliance and our legal team. It goes through our tech team for security reasons. If it passes, then we're good to go. And every piece that gets generated also has to go through the compliance approval process, just like anything else.
Perfect. Thank you, Jason. I just taking a look. A question from Sarah. How was your PDF from PerformLine sent to you? Was it via Gmail? Did you integrate something from Zapier to PerformLine? Good question. I believe a webhook is part of this answer, but
it is correct.
Yeah.
The Jotform takes the piece, it sends it to monday.com, it uploads it to monday.com, it sets the status for PerformLine to then accept it to their webhook, right? They accept the piece through their webhook, they actually score it, and they send back an update on Monday to that item with a link to the PDF. So it's not by Gmail, it's in monday.com from an update from their Zapier integration.
Got it. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Let's keep on going here. So the next question comes from Isaac. Do you guys know of any way to create like a media library that can be referenced in the AI prompt, so we can just ask the prompt to reference a document, video, or files for it that can be customized to a client? Sorry if this is complicated. This is a great question, so don't worry about it. Jason, do you have any thoughts? I have a thought here, but would love to hear from you first.
There's no one right way to eat a Reese's. Yes, there's a way, but it really depends on what processes and systems you use now. I could figure out a way to do this with Monday really easily using an AI prompt. I could just have all of my media stored in a Monday table, right? All of it's named. We could have any data you want for the piece in terms of who the audience is for, what kind of content is it, and you can use an AI to search the entire database for everything and then output what you're looking for. That's one way, right? You can also use a digital asset management tool. I'm sure these work well for this kind of a thing too. You can tag everything however you want. You can use an AI to sort through all the tags based on your prompt and give you the options that you're really looking for. Like I said, there's no one way to do this, really. There's lots of different ways to tackle this. Really depends on what kind of content you're trying to look through and what processes and systems you have in place already.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add to that answer or to the question from Adam, one thing also potentially to consider, it depends, again, you're mentioning a media library, it depends on what source you want to reference. One thing that you can do is, within Zapier, we have the ability to call a chatbot from a Zap. So chatbot is our chatbot product. And what you can do there is you can connect a knowledge source to that chatbot. As a matter of fact, I was working on a Zap today that actually does just that, where you create a chatbot. And again, Adam, I think it depends on the format of your file. But let's say you have a PDF that kind of summarizes your internal best practices or sort of regulations that you need to abide by. You can connect that PDF as a file to the knowledge source and then call that chatbot from your Zap. So that could be one way of doing it. To Jason's point, there is a ton of ways to do something like that. It's just going to require some out of the box thinking, if you will. Perfect. Let's go to the next question. So Scott asks, if you could give one tip to somebody who is newly introducing automated compliance workflows leveraging AI, what would that tip be?
That tip would be to have open dialogue with your teams who are invested in the process. That's the one thing I would look into. A lot of this came out of what's a problem that they have, and maybe we can find a solution to solve for that, right?
Yeah.
This really started with reporting. We didn't have a way to accurately get an output of everything that was scored for a particular state for audits. So whenever we got an audit, we had to provide everything we'd done for a particular state, and every loan officer who's licensed in that state, PerformLine didn't have a way to do that for us, even though they were already holding all of the stuff that we'd given them. Integrating Monday was the solution for that, right? But I didn't know to create this until there was this open discussion about what kind of problems we have. It's really looking for opportunities in the discussions more than anything else. Collaborate.
Yeah, awesome. So Jason, let me ask you a corollary of that question. Did you face resistance, especially because of the AI component, especially because when it comes to something as sensitive as compliance, we had a question earlier in the Q&A about like human in the loop and approvals. Like I can understand some people being leery or concerned about leveraging AI for something like this. So did you face any resistance, and how did you overcome that?
I think that I've been doing marketing here for long enough that I already had a good understanding of the compliance rules. So I didn't face a lot of resistance because when I started building it, I was working with the compliance team through the entire process to make sure it would work for them, that they were comfortable with it. By the time it was built out, I presented it to the legal team, not the compliance team, and they were just shocked. It worked so well. Like I said, a lot of this was collaboration. It's not like I built this and got resistance. It was more like I built it collaboratively with them to help serve their needs.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jason. I think that's the time that we have for the questions. Thank you all for the really just super engaging Q&A session. Not sure. So one question did come up. And actually, no, this was the question we just answered. Okay, so and that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for tuning in. We hope we left you with practical guidance for how to use Zapier for scaling marketing automation. Keep an eye out on your inbox for follow-up resources. We will be sending a template of the automated workflow that Jason created, and you can tailor that to your needs. And with that, wish you all a great rest of your week. Again, thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.